So it's been a long time since my last video, and I've been getting a lot of questions about the Motoped Survival bike. This edition that has been re-engineered from the concrete up to the tippy top of the handlebars. And people want to know what's going on with this bike. Well, I've got a problem because now I have one of these. And I want to tell you a little bit about my situation. Alright, so I don't know if you got all of that, but I've been getting a lot of questions about the Motoped. And hey Mike, where have you been? We got a bunch of views on this bike. You did a lot of upgrades on it. You were really angry at the company, and then you ended up fixing all their mistakes. What's going on? Well, what's going on is the KLR 650. I realized that I wanted to go farther across the country than the Motoped Survival was going to allow me to go. And I have some thoughts about the bike, but long story short, last year, we decided that we were going to go across the country on the Trans-American Trail, starting in North Carolina and ending up in Oregon. And I would have preferred to have used this bike for local trips inside of North Carolina and Virginia, South Carolina, maybe even Georgia, and use this bike for the longer distance trips. But truth be told, I'm only ever using the KLR 650 now. And this wonderful piece of engineering that I've finally got working 120% sits idly in the corner and collects dust. So I have some very important news. My Motoped, the journey of a year and a half, is for sale. And I've gotten so many offers for it, and people emailing me and private messaging me, that I said, it's time for you to go to a home where somebody can appreciate you. It's not that I don't love you anymore. It's just that there's another woman in my life, and she means more to me. We had some good times, and I love you and I appreciate you, and we'll always have those memories together. But I'm much happier with my Japanese girlfriend than I am with you. And so, no, please, don't make a scene. It's over. Goodbye, girlfriend. Goodbye. Goodbye. Now it's just us. Let me start off by saying that I was raised by a family of hoarders, and that historically I would be holding on to this motorized bicycle for a really long time. And I never know where to look with this thing. And I'm going to keep this in the background. It's been a long journey. You've been following it on the videos, and she needs to go to a better home. I want to walk you through the upgrades and tell you what I've done to it relative to how it was when I found it. Okay, ready? It has the telephone mount. It has the upgraded rear view mirror, and I have an extra mirror included that will go on that side if you want to do it. I think the bike looks cooler when it just has that one mirror on the side. It has the dual LED headlight assembly with the custom 3D printed bar span across the front. It has the fender assembly that I've installed on it. And in addition to that, it has the Soul Stomper road tire. This is the only tire I could find that I could run on blacktop that didn't wear out. This tire is absolutely amazing. They're available, they're in stock, people sell them, and you can get them, versus the Kenda tire, which nubs out and gets right down to the plies really quickly. But we've already covered that. This was an upgraded carburetor assembly. This is not the stock carburetor assembly, and an upgraded air filter from, I think it's tvparts.com. And they actually put together this carb assembly and jets, pilot and main jet for me, special for this bike. I will include the extra jets and the pilot and the main jet kit that I received for this carb. It's absolutely yours to have. In addition to that, I have replaced the entire lower jackshaft with the appropriately sized, appropriately hardened jackshaft. I had it custom machined. You followed me in the other prior video. And so the jackshaft assembly is now perfect. The bearings are brand new. There is no wobble between the shaft and the bearings, something they did to make manufacturing easier back at the plant. And that is now complete. You will never have a problem with the jackshaft. In addition to that, I've done some cool things. Somebody gave me this survival knife. You want a survival knife? It's actually included with the bike. I always felt nervous and sketchy in some of the areas that I was in. And so now there's a survival knife on the survival bike. This seat, the Serifos Deep Groove Gel Cruiser seat, makes this bike extremely comfortable to ride. That is a $80 to $100 seat. That's included with the bike. In addition to that, I also have the custom 3D printed console. When you turn the lights on, you'll see that it gives you a voltage reading now on the battery. And in the front of the bike, you have a backup. So if one of the lights goes out, you can turn on the opposite side, or when it gets really sketchy in certain areas, you can come over here and turn both of the lights on. So you can monitor battery voltage, and you have a backup light in the event that one of the LEDs goes out. These LEDs are rated for the output of the stator, which was replaced in here. So the stator and the pickup, that entire assembly was upgraded and rewired and put in there versus the one that came standard from the Motoped factory. In addition to that, one of the biggest upgrades, I don't know if you've picked it up by now, down here on the bottom of the screen, I have a Moose Racing motorcycle tire rim, as well as a motorcycle tire on here. If you remember from my prior videos, the original mountain bike tire that comes with this bike is extremely dangerous, in my humble opinion, and I know this because it blew out on me. Granted, I was a little heavier when I was riding it. I was about 260 pounds, and I'm about 220. I've lost I've gone from 285 pounds, I'm now about 220, and even still, the mountain bike tire wasn't really designed to support all the load coming down off of that frame onto that bike. So now this, if you had this professionally done, would cost you, I believe, $500. I've got probably several $100s in parts, and then I don't even know how many hours in time to replace that. So this is how the bike should be coming from the factory, with a rear motorcycle tire on here, brand new spokes, brand new spoke washers, brand new rim, brand new tire. There's probably 10 miles on that from the test ride. I have a brand new Rotopax 1-gallon fuel tank, and I have a 15-liter Axiom waterproof saddlebag that's also coming with the bike. As we come over the top of the bike, you're going to remember that I built a back deck for this. So I also have the base camp directional light that will turn left and right if you want to use it, with the wireless transmitter up on the handlebar. But this main deck actually acts as a rear fender. More importantly than any of that, I've taken the battery terminals from the front, which are almost impossible to access. I've got a positive and a negative terminal back here. Now I can clip on a 12-volt receptacle and charge all of my goodies and my GPS and my phone back here if I wanted to. And I can also put a battery tender on the bike and keep it charged overnight, or when I stop, I have a small solar charger if I'm camping, just to keep the battery trickle charged while I'm not moving. Okay. In addition to that, I've taken the case that came with the bike that was included for water, and I've made a rear door and turned this into a toolbox. Those 4 custom 3D printed 1/4-20 screws, they turn out of the back. The rear panel is 1/8 aluminum. It comes off the reflector, and now you have access to the entire inside of the box for tools. Things like extra spark plugs and spare tire plugs and patches and things of that nature. So converting this from a water tank to a toolbox incredibly enhanced the usefulness of the bike. The brake light now on the bike is DOT certified. So when I press the handles up front on the bike, I've got micro switches now that send a signal to the rear brake light that the bike has actually come to a stop. And so when we're moving with this, you now have a brake light on the back of the bike versus having to figure out, okay, when I get this thing back to my house, how am I going to ride it on the road? And again, I've covered all of this in the prior videos of me upgrading the bike slowly over time. You've seen me do each of these projects, and you know, if you look at the other videos in my channel, what I've done and how long it's taken to do each of those things, right? So let me think what else, if I can, with regards to the bike, what I've done. Okay, it has brand new front and rear disc brake pads, so that when you're getting the bike, you're starting from scratch in regards to that. The valve clearances and timing have been checked by a professional motorcycle mechanic, and the valve clearances are within spec. You'll also get the feeler gauge on the valve for the valve clearance for this bike, because it's very hard to get without buying a $30 or $40 set. I believe it's 4 or 5, and that's included with the bike as well. That right there, the kickstand assembly on the bike, one of the biggest gripes that I have with it, this is a brand new kickstand assembly. There started to be a scratch forming, not a scratch, a crack was forming on the kickstand assembly right there in between the two 5/16/18 screws. And so that's a $100 upgrade on the bike to replace the original kickstand assembly with a new one. I think the first lot they might have used a weaker aluminum, and now on this lot it feels much more substantial and stronger with that kickstand assembly. This engine right now is broken in. It has been, the oil's been changed 4 times since I've gotten it. I treat it like a baby. And now, the 1 gallon of gas in this bike gets 100 miles per gallon. That one part really surprised me about this bike. I can literally drive 100 miles before I'm completely empty of fuel. I have stopped, put another gallon in, and I've driven another 100 miles in one day. So I've done a 200-mile trip using nothing but the gallon of gas here and the gallon of gas there. And if you put another one of these on the other side, you'll have a 300-mile radius. That's me with my frame around, at the time, that was a 250, 60-pound frame on this bike. Like I said, I'm down to 220 now. I would expect you'd get even more, especially in the hilly foothills where I live in North Carolina. But the engine so far on this bike is by far the absolute best investment that you can make, or is the absolute best part, I should say, of the entire bike. Besides the frame, besides the design, besides the look of it, the engine on here it's just outstanding. It's reliable. It always starts. The kickstart works on the other side. The electric start works. The choke assembly now is just beautiful. It's jetted properly. And if it needed to adjust it, I have the jets to do that. One of the things that I appreciated most about the bike was how well it presented itself. And while I've been on a number of adventures with it, the number one reason that I bought it was because I thought it was beautiful. Aesthetically, it was very pleasing to me. And wherever you go with this bike, people will pull you over on the side of the road and they'll say, hey man, where'd you get that? That's a really exciting bike. And so the lines of it, I have been riding this in North Carolina now, gosh, for, I've had this over a year, and I've never seen anything like it yet. It's probably the only one in Western Carolina that I've ever come across. and I watch for these things all the time when I'm driving. It is a unique showroom piece. There will never be another design like it, and I'm just not going to use it. I know that because it's sitting here. I know that I have a tendency with things to be emotionally attached to them. I'm going to be 70 years old. This thing's going to be in the garage. My kids are going to give it away to a next door neighbor when they get it. They have no interest in this stuff. I've probably got 200 man hours of blood, sweat, tears, and heart and soul into this bike. And she's ready to go to a new home. I had a name for her. I named her Evelyn, kind of after my grandmother. When we were riding around, I felt like maybe grandma was protecting me. Evelyn's a lot of fun now. I've absorbed all the blows. I've absorbed all the headaches, and really gotten to learn about small engine repair, motorcycles in general. This prepared me for the Kawasaki KLR 650. So there's going to be information in the description below regarding pricing, how to contact me, ways to get in touch with me. The first person that makes the arrangements, if it needs to be shipped, I will build the crate, and somebody can come to the house, put it on the back of a freight truck, and take it away. So I'm willing to build the crate. I'm willing to include that transport assembly so you can put it on the back of your truck. I'm willing to include everything that you've seen here as well, including a battery tender if you need it to help keep the battery charged when you're using it in your garage. Everything you've seen me discuss here today, I want it to go to a new home. I've got all sorts of new adventures planned. I have things for this channel that I want to do, things that as soon as it starts to warm up a little bit, I want to be more regular week to week, maybe 2 videos a month, then go to 4 videos a month. But my journey with this bike is over. Check it out. Thank you again for your views, for your support. This is what this bike was supposed to be, and she's going to go to a good home. Congratulations to those of you that are thinking about it, and to you especially, the guy who's going to get it first. I promise you, you're going to love it. It's a sweet ride now. Thanks again, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. I should probably also mention that I have a rear hitch carrier for this bike. I want to say I paid $100 to $150 for that as well, where the bike mounts to it and you can use ratchet straps and attach it to the back of your truck. If you guys want that with the bike, I'll include that as well and put it on the crate, or you can pick it up locally as well.